interviewing people. You know what I mean? Like there's prep that goes into that.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, ugh, that sounds exhausting.
But yeah, like going through like, like JFK took 4.
Yeah.
And then just,
the Mormon Church was like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, who was, Harvey Oswald, like, so JFK itself was 4, and then Harvey Oswald was 4. So, I mean, that's 8 really on the same thing.
Yep. There's some deep dives for sure.
Oh, and they get me going. Like, I start thinking about, like, the CIA controls everything. They killed JFK, and then
I love how like
that's the agency.
I know.
Oh, they're all I know. That's kind of been like again part of my like. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, you're like, hold on.
They started these cartels. You know, you're just like,
they were shipping the drugs back.
Yeah,
like
you're like, you're paying for these poppy fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harvey Oswald lived in Russia. The CIA and the KG, like you're just like, wait, like they have proof like he didn't work for the CIA, but it's like, but you knew about him. And they're like, And they're like, wait, like, stop.
Yep. What was I listening to? And they were just talking about that before I left the house. I'm like, what podcast? Yeah. Oh, I listened to Theories of the Third Kind. It's kind of like they cover like primary, just conspiracies of all ilk.
Oh, yeah.
And they were bringing that because I was listening to the Oklahoma City bombing one. Like, I don't.
Oh, that's crazy too.
You don't want to like say like, you're like, all these awful tragedies. Like, surely the government wouldn't set this up so they could usher in like, mass surveillance of its citizens. And then you're like, oh my God.
Maybe they would.
Las Vegas. I've gotten the most disturbing messages from people about Las Vegas because I was kind of talking about people are like, what? Why would they do that? I love people. They're like, well, why? And you're like, do you not know how to fucking work the internet? Like, seriously, if you're curious as to why, like, I had to
practice on your husband. You might have a happy marriage.
But I have a lot of people that follow me were there and were like in the middle. They were like, my stepbrother got shot. Like I was in the middle of this crowd being shot at, like, and they're telling these stories and these people don't know each other. They don't know that I'm getting these messages from all these other people. They're all saying the same fucking thing. They're like, those shots were not coming from, there were helicopters above. They locked us in the gates. Normally the gates are open so you can leave freely. They locked us in these gates. Like, they're like, whatever. They weren't coming from above. It was coming from like sides, like dead on and above. Cause I think they were thinking whatever. Anyway, it was wild. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. And they don't talk about it anymore. You're like, oh, so you guys still just haven't uncovered that one. But like the Nashville bombing was solved in like 24 hours.
Right. Yep.
Not supposed to talk about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Steven something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, it's like the JFK one from the last podcast on the left, those guys. I mean, if that happened today, same thing, it would have just been covered.
Yep.
Like, oh, it was him.
Yep.
And it's like, well, hold on. We've got conflicting reports from people on the ground. And it's like, nope.
And that's the best part about today is because of social media. Like, I wonder if they kind of anticipated it being such an outlet for like a catalyst for information, for people for sharing information.
Yep.
Which is why we're experiencing such like insane levels of like suppression and censorship. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If it happened now, you'd be getting some people would be being deplatformed left and fucking right.
Yeah. What other conspiracies have we, I don't think we've talked a lot on ours.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some good ones. And it's been a while since I've kind of like gone down that rabbit hole. But I remember like, I think the first one was kind of like, I was like, Zach, 9/11. He's like, that is an old one. You're just now. I was like,
you're a little behind.
I know. I was like, but yeah, it's wild. I'm like, what's my favorite one? I don't know what my favorite one is. There are some weird ones like, and some that I just can't get. Like, I remember people would always be like, I would know who like the hardcore conservatives in my following were because they'd be like talking about Michael Obama. Like, they swear to God that Michelle Obama's a man. I don't know. Like, Big Mike is what they call him. I'm just like, but then you have these videos of like Joan Rivers and it's her. It's not a deep fake. She's like walking in and some reporter asked, she's like walking up these stairs. She's got her security with her. And somebody's like, what did you feel about our first like transgender somebody in the White House? And she's like, they're already there. Michelle Obama.
Please.
So you're just like, anyway, people believe some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like the Pizzagate thing. I'm just kind of like, there's some crazy shit, man.
Your dad was on the, like when they were shutting down DC and stuff. When he was sending you and I that
summer or
the election, remember?
They still have like 30,000 National Guard troops there.
Yep.
It's still essentially like a police state.
Yeah.
Military, whatever. Coup.
Well, his was like like Trump was trying to do a coup and like
my dad still thinks that's what's going on.
Which it's like, remember, DC's its own thing, so they can do whatever they want. So like, I'm not arguing that that's messed up, but like the whole thing of like they're trying to run Trump out of there and like it's a coup. It's like, no, like, guys, like,
My dad thought that they were going to be like, help Trump like stay in.
Yep.
My dad's got
the National Guard was coming in and they were gonna like Yep. I saw that too. Like people were sending me that like look at all this National Guard activity. They're gonna go help Trump. I'm like,
okay,
if you're finding that
100,000 sealed indictments, and I'm just like,
it's probably not gonna work.
I'll believe when I see it.
if average Joe in Wyoming's finding this, the National Guard's not doing a good job.
Yeah, seriously.
As Zach and I always say, if you're going to throw a coup and someone finds out about your coup,
it's a failed attempt.
Yeah, it's not going to work out very well.
Look at Malaysia. That was successful. Malaysia, that's under military.
Yeah. One of those.
Yeah.
Over there. Yeah.
Conspiracy wise, let's just say Jeffrey Epstein. That's almost old news.
Yeah.
Epstein.
I mean, I don't even feel like that's a conspiracy. The shit that they're, again, like, just when they throw up smoke screens and it's just like, we're not supposed to talk about that shit anymore. Like, that's your biggest indicator that you're onto something, in my opinion.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You're like, okay, well, flight logs were a little suspicious.
Yeah.
You're like, Sherlock, pictures of Bill Clinton.
His girlfriend has disappeared. We can't find her.
Like, oh my God, like nobody's seen hide nor hair of her. She's still in jail. I don't even know if I believe that shit.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. That's
question everything. Believe nothing. Trust nobody.
Yes. Boom. Well, you ready, boss?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Well, we don't have our headphones in, so you have to give us the finger guns.
Yeah.
And 5, 4, 3.
And welcome back in, Wyoming Knuckleheads. Another episode of GoBeWYO, and today's special guest is Saddle Tramp, Breann Beasley. Breann, thanks for sitting down with us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, that was
the formal radio voice.
Don't get all clean cut for us now. We've been in here for about 30 minutes talking conspiracies.
Talking mad shit.
Yeah. But no, thanks for coming by, and we're super excited to have you in. And as you were sharing on your story, you know, it's mostly about Wyoming, about your brand and being an entrepreneur. But for us, since we both are kind of
not into Western women's fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
Weird. I would never beg you for that.
That's what we want to cover everything in Wyoming, because there's a lot of great people here and a lot of wonderful stories and
the best people.
Exactly.
We live a blessed life.
Yes. So, but yeah, no, first and foremost, I think for people out there, where are you originally from? Where are your roots? Based here in Wyoming, or where do you call home, I guess, in Wyoming? And then, we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Buffalo, Wyoming originally, like grew up in Cody till like 4th grade, and then spent the rest of my time till high school, graduated from Buffalo. BHS, I'm a Buffaho. Anyway. And then I went to school at MSU Bozeman, got a degree in Spanish that I've yet to use, and I am a leather worker.
Two Bobcats in the room here.
Oh, right. Yeah, what's up?
My family's, I'm a 3rd generation Wyoming. But my mom and dad are from Buffalo. So,
oh, really? Okay.
So that's I didn't know that. So that's awesome. That's cool you're from Buffalo. So
the home team.
Yeah.
But I would never, I don't know why I'm like, you couldn't pay me to fucking live there. Absolutely not. Because I think it's just like a little too close to home. So like Sheridan was kind of like, it felt still, like big city compared to there. Like when we moved back from Oklahoma City, I was like, Sheridan.
Yeah. Awesome. So you have a degree in Spanish? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, Spanish and international commerce.
Well,
I don't know why that's so funny, but it is. I mean, just given my career path.
So you graduate from Bozeman. Mm-hmm. What was the next step? What was your goal?
I mean, dude, I never know how to answer this because it's not like I never knew like what my objective was. You're like, in 5 years, here's what I'm just not that kind of person. Like, I don't like structure. I don't deal in absolutes. It's just kind of like, we're kind of free form and say yes to things and doors open. And I just like kind of
go with the flow. Yeah.
But I had so much experience in like hospitality just because, I waitressed in high school and then all through college. And then after college, I worked at the Yellowstone Club.
Okay.
So if you're familiar, I served Bill Gates macaroni and cheese one time. And now I'm not proud of that. At one point in time, I was like, I served Bill Gates macaroni and cheese. And I was like, I'm so close to the devil.
I don't like that story.
Yeah.
But tell us that interaction though. Was it just like, here you go? Or was it?
I mean, because it's just a whole bunch of super wealth, like the richest people in the world. It's like the world's only private ski and golf resort. And it was awesome. Like that was a great job. But yeah, it was super weird. I mean, and they're not like, some of them are more open than others and they are just like, they're rich people. They're just like me. They're not. Bill Gates was not. But he was definitely like, I mean, just very, because I think, and I don't want to make assumptions, but I have heard that he's kind of on the spectrum.
Oh, okay.
Like,
sure.
Like, I don't know if Asperger's or I don't know what the clinical whatever, but I would say he definitely kind of had that kind of like the social anxiety maybe a little bit.
Gotcha. Yep.
Like I definitely remember that where you're just kind of like, okay, like there's some people you feel comfortable to kind of be like, hey, Billy or whatever. That's not the situation.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like get in, get out.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Give him his fucking food and get the fuck out.
Right. Well, he is that computer, my dad's a computer programmer and I
just cannot.
Sometimes he has that kind of like.
Yeah. We don't have a lot to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those guys are like, just knowledge wise on that stuff, you're just like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yep. You're up here. I need you here.
Yep. Awesome. So how long were you there for at the Yellowstone Club?
Yellowstone Club was only like 2 seasons.
Okay.
It was just like a nice kind of like interim before I kind of really settled into like a big girl job. And I liked it because it was like seasonal. So I could work the summer season and then you get like file for seasonal unemployment because your job attached. And then we would just go travel. Like we would like down to South America for 3 months and just backpacked around and just tried not to get murdered or whatever, stolen. And yeah, so that was good. And then I took a job at a catering and convention services manager at a big hotel in Bozeman. And I did that for about a year. And then I was like, I'm moving to Austin. And so I moved back to Buffalo to kind of spend a summer with my dad, like ride horses and just kind of screw off for a couple months and then, make the leap. But that turned into like 3 years living with my dad. People were like, so what's it like living with your daughter? And he's like, she's my best friend. Like we had so much fun together. So yeah, but in that time I took a job with an environmental consulting firm.
Okay.
That kind of started out, and this is what I'm talking about, like the power of yes. It started out as kind of like just administrative stuff, like if they needed it, like 8 hours a week, part-time, whatever. And next thing I know, they're like, what do you know about archaeology? And I'm like, well, I find it very fascinating, but essentially nothing. And so they're like, perfect, you'll work.
You're hired.
Yeah. And so I ended up going out on like a lot of like due diligence projects. Like that's kind of how I got my start into like greenhouse gases. Next thing I know, I'm like, we're being like, subcontracted out to like oil and gas companies up in, I was living in Alaska for a while. Like it took on a whole other life, but
awesome.
Anyway, yeah. So that's kind of that. And then in that like same space, I was doing leather work. My dad's like, you need to make purses. And I've always been good, like an artistic creative. It's like, I don't have formal training, but I know how to do things. Like I can look at something like what I'm wearing, what you're wearing, and just like, oh, this is how you do that.
Yeah.
And so I started making purses, and that's how Saddle Tramp was like born. That was like 2010.
Okay.
Or the first attempt, I guess. And then it just, timing is everything. It was before like social media. And I didn't necessarily, I think it's much harder back then to get yourself out there. Like all you really had was Facebook and like Etsy.
MySpace was probably still a thing.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It's kind of like on the way out, but like Instagram wasn't a thing yet. So yeah, and then so I just ended up putting that on a back burner. Tried to move down to Austin. Austin sucked. Okay, don't let your friends move to Austin. Don't do it. There are way better places to live.
Don't go to Austin.
Yeah. And no offense to people that live there and love it. Like, I mean, well, maybe a little bit of offense. But anyway, I ended up like being there for like a couple months and like partying my brains out. But I was like, this is not reality. Like, it's way too expensive. It's a pain in the ass to get anywhere. The travel infrastructure is shit. Like, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
And so I ended up like started applying for jobs like everywhere. Took a job in Oklahoma City working for Chesapeake.
Okay.
Doing air emissions.
Awesome.
And so, and then after 3 years, I was like, started dating my now husband, Zach. And I was like, look, we were probably like 6 months in and I was like, I think I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to move in with you. You're not going to charge me rent. I'm going to start making things. You've never seen me make anything, so you actually have no idea if I'm capable of this. Just trust me. And he was like, okay. And so that was kind of how, that's how that started. And that was 5, going on 6 years ago now.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Ladies, that's how you know you have the one where he's like, all right.
Yeah. Yes. I'll second that.
So while you were, I don't think probably a lot of people know that. So that's about 10 years in kind of I wouldn't say the oil and gas field, but that's, me being from the landman side, that's a very important side of the industry that people don't realize is the environmental, archaeological,
especially in a place like Wyoming.
Yes.
Like Wyoming takes that shit very seriously, which I love.
Yes.
And that's why they camped on Kanye so hard.
Yep.
I was like, good.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's, we could dive deep into that because, people assume that the state of Wyoming gets taken advantage of, which is like, that's not the case. Like they make sure.
No, and BLM are assholes to deal with. Like you want to talk about bureaucratic dicks.
Yep. They take forever.
Yes.
And they've
got no incentive. They're like, we get paid the same. Don't matter to us. Yeah.
A dude told me that. I was out there on a site and he's like, have them send it in and we'll do this again. And I'm like, well, this is why I'm here is to do this. And he's like, well, they don't have the right paperwork. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So I'm like, anyways, but but no, that's cool. I didn't know that you did that. So, still in Oklahoma City and you started making them. So that would have been, 2015 then, 2014?
It was 2016.
16, okay.
Yeah, I started the job in 2013 and I had to do like because when I took that job, it kind of was like, my idea of golden handcuffs. This is as close as I'll ever get to golden handcuffs. I had they gave me a moving incentive to move there and you have to work the first year to where you don't have to pay that back. So I was like, okay, no problem. But after 3 years, my stock vested.
Yep.
And not that I have a reputation for being a token party girl, but by their standards for sure. Because Oklahoma, it's the motto is well, you get married young and get divorced young because they're all just settled down. And I was this old spinster at 29. They're like, oh, you're not married? I'm just some burden to society down in Oklahoma. But I swear to God, because they do random drug testing. And my hire date was 4/20. And this was I swear to God, they tried to a little covert sting operation on yours truly. Because it might, what was it? Wait, no. Okay, so 4/20, obviously that's weed holiday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
This is how obvious and ham-fisted they are. They're like, oh, surely Breann was smoking weed last night.
You are going to be drug tested.
Yeah. I walk into work 4/21 and maybe my date was 4/22 when all my stuff vested. I think that was it. And come in 4/21 and they're like, you've been selected for random drug testing. And I was like, what? I was like, joke's on you. I only like to drink wine. Ha!
Good try.
Yeah, I was like, try again. Anyway, but I was already kind of mentally on my way out at that point. I was I just wanted to get my 3 years and then kind of
and then you vested and yep.
Yep. And yeah, so I and I kind of started accumulating equipment and started to make stuff, just kind of getting the ball rolling and realizing you're I don't know how people honestly you have your passion projects and some people are afraid to kind of completely cut off because it is scary when you're I'm going to completely cut off this really consistent and reliable income flow.
Yep.
And just well, just throw caution to the wind and see if this works. But it's so hard to maintain there is no balance. And trying to do both at the same time, like I was like, fuck it. Yep. So I kind of just dropped the boom and quit. And then awesome. I took like a 3-month road trip. And then I got to work.
Yeah. Well, you hit on something that I think some people need to hear is you can't juggle two things at once. Like you're either all in or you
have to commit.
Yep.
You got to commit. If it's not now, it's going to be 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now. Just, it's the inevitable if you're serious about this. So you might as well just like fish or cut bait. Like, let's go. You got to jump and the net will catch you.
Yeah. Yeah. So what were the first couple things you were making?
Funny story. So like I grew up in like 4-H. Okay. Like my dad was my leather teacher. So my dad is a leather worker. Like he makes tack belts. He had a leather business growing up. And so but I stopped essentially at fourth grade. And so like I knew how to do tooling, but I was like, I'm going to get back into making purses. Like I love kind of like a more full, like purses are just more involved. And I like tooling, but I don't know. I just wanted to do this, I guess. And so, I was like, I'm going to make purses. Well, I order this machine, this artisan, and it's like this 95-pound hunk of like steel comes in. I'm like, yes, I don't know what I'm doing per se. Like I've always kind of had my dad there. He was up in Wyoming, but it's like, if I have questions like how to run something. So it's definitely like, okay, well, it's pretty well like set up. I broke it immediately, like immediately. I was like up shit creek, like hardcore. So I was like, well, I'm not quitting, but now I have to find somebody who can fix this thing. Like I'd gone to like a quilting store. I didn't know that like the size of the needle is like on the machine, like all the shit I needed. It was like foreign instructions. Like, I don't know what this shit means. Like, I don't know this. So I was like, well, I need needles. I just ran to like this is an industrial machine. Okay. Not like your grandma's Singer. Like that's essentially what I tried to do. And it put like a burr in the needle bar, just completely screwed myself. And so then I was like trying to find somebody to fix it. It was a nightmare. But it honestly, like necessity is the mother of invention. And that set me up to like, I was forced to start tooling again. And it's really funny. Like I have the first buckle that I made, like kind of my first crack, like, all right, let's just see if I still got it. Yeah. Oh my God. I look at it now and it's kind of like sweet and endearing, like origin story, but it's just like, it's bad. It's really bad. But it's
not for sale.
yeah, no. But I was like, yep, still got it. I mean, it is so bad. And but that kind of like blind confidence, I think. I don't think I've been called arrogant before, but I do think that one of the really great things that my dad instilled in me is just confidence. Mm-hmm. And I have confidence in my abilities, and I may not be super good now, but I know what my strong suit is. And I was like, and the fact that I thought that buckle was awesome, who cares? But yeah, I just started making belt buckles because I was just like, what do I not have to sew? Like, what can I make that I just put snaps that I can all do by hand, that doesn't require like machinery until I can figure out how the fuck to fix this thing. Yeah. And so, yeah, I started making belt buckles.
Awesome. Yep. And what was your, well, let me ask, when did the name come up, Saddle Tramp? Was that already decided, or was this kind of in that process too?
Okay, so this is actually a funny story, and I think I know how to tell the short version.
You can tell the long version.
Well, short and effective. So back in like 2010, when I was, my dad's like, you got, the fun part is kind of like, what are we going to call this,
Right.
And I fancy myself as being relatively clever. You're like, oh, this is gonna be good. Just wait. Let me get in the group here. Yeah. Something about me, like I really like salt. My whole family were just like salt fiends. Like at dinner time, it's like everybody has like individual salt shakers. I know that's weird, and just like a weird fact, but it does tie into this. So, and I was dating a guy at the time, who was a little bit older than me. And, to his credit, he was like he was excited for me. He was an impartial sounding board, which is in hindsight, is huge. Yeah. Because, anyway, I was just kind of like, because I was making purses, I love salt. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, oh, salt sacks.
Salt sack.
with just a C at the end, not a K, not a CK, salt sack. And I told him, I was like, oh, right on the money.
This is it. $1 million idea.
Yeah. And he like kind of responded back and he's like, okay, please don't take this the wrong way. It kind of sounds like you're talking about balls. I was like so indignant. I was like, what? Oh, no way. And then I was like, okay, I see your point. And so I think it was honestly like very shortly after that, I was like driving into Walmart and I was, I have my like little iPod and I always just had it on shuffle. And the song came on and it's like, I've heard all those songs a million times.
Right.
And it was a song by Core Blonde and it's the only long rider I know. And there is a line in there where he says, saddle tramping the world on the wind like a stranger. And I was like, Saddle Tramp.
That it is. There it is.
And that's how it happened. Everybody was like, oh, it's named after that Marty Robbins album, right? And I was like, no. I want it to be no, but this is how it happened. So, but I mean, that was just kind of like, that's the one.
Yeah.
So, and it's worked out well. So
probably a little better than Salt Sack.
That's good.
I was like, yeah.
He was probably like, I'm going to tell you this, but make sure you're not holding anything.
How do I?
Yeah. I'm going to step back a little bit.
How do I say this? Yeah.
Where I don't get something thrown at me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you had the name back in 2010.
Yeah.
You restarted back in 2016. You guys are living in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
Does it start booming then in Oklahoma City, or talk about how you end up back in Wyoming, back in your home state?
I always wanted to come back here. I have to say, like well, it's funny because 6 months before I took that job in Oklahoma, I was down there for like an SPCC, like mapping from some like old legacy sites.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think we were in like Durant, Oklahoma, and I was like, God,
yeah,
you could not pay me to live in this shithole state. And then next thing I know, I'm like signing my life away. I'm like, yep, Oklahoma City, here I come. And it's that spring, like I spent half that spring like underground. I'd never experienced tornadoes. Like it was fucking wild. And my car got flooded. Like the whole first like 2 months of my stay in Oklahoma City was just cursed. I was like arrested at Calf Fry. Like me and Oklahoma were just having a difficult time. Like
just button heads.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, I should have held out for hazard pay. This is bullshit. But I was just like, that's it. I'm going to make it to the 1 year mark and I'm out. Like, forget it. I dated a guy who sucked, broke up, whatever. And then when I broke up, I was like, oh, I don't hate Oklahoma. I just hated him. I was like, okay. But I was still just like, I'm over it. I really missed Wyoming. Like we're so lucky. Like the mountains, even if you're not using them on a consistent basis, you just kind of miss that. And it's so fucking hot down there. The humidity, I cannot adjust to that. Like, just couldn't do it. Anyway, so I tried to quit my job. It was like 4/22, my anniversary date, walked in 4/23, and I handed my resignation to my boss. And he's like, whoa, don't quit. To his credit, he was I have amazing bosses because I think I can be I'm not difficult. I'm a really hard worker, but I don't do well with like micromanaging. And I need you to just let me do what I need to do to get this done. Like I'll work the 40 hours, but my hours may be a little unorthodox.
Right.
I may like take a nap under my desk at some point.
So you started the 4-day work week. Is that what you're saying?
Dude, it was so badass because we had half day Fridays. Some companies like they kind of started to integrate the 4, where like some weeks they'd have 5 days and the next week they'd have a full Friday off. So,
yeah.
I mean, so I didn't start that much. I was definitely on board about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started there and it was honestly like, it's hard, I think, for anybody to kind of like start a brand, but I wasn't willing to like ask for help or, I was like, I'm going to do this organically. Like, and it's slow. It's a slow start to like accumulate like a following that is there because they like you. You have a commonality. They like something about you. They're kind of invested and they'll stick around. Because honestly, it's just hard to get when you first start out because you're just like, people are like, just start following a bunch of people and then you can unfollow them. And that shit drives me nuts. And I was like, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm like, whatever, it'll happen. So it's just kind of like, it's the process and you can't there's no fast, there's no way to expedite that really, if you're going to do it right. So it was slow and I kind of like, I wouldn't say like pigeonhole myself, but because I was doing like custom stuff to trying to get my name out there, I was taking orders, which, dude, it shaved years off my life. The first like 2 years of business, I was doing custom and that's it. And like going broke because it's just like the time that goes into that. Also like pricing. I have a hard time like, excuse me, burping. I'm sorry. My biggest thing was like making people pay for, I mean, I'm giving you, this is a product. It's a skilled product. I'm not just slapping this shit together, but it's a weird kind of like, well, I mean, just give me whatever you think it's worth. Almost, it's a weird kind of thing. Right. I don't like dealing with money. And I found in these contexts where I was like, well, here's the price. I mean, if you want to pay it. So stupid. You're like, just fucking tell them. I've definitely gotten more battle hardened. Like, here's what it is. Buy it or don't buy. You know? But there's just so much time. And also, like, for me, I probably overthink these things because when it comes to a custom project, I'm like, all right, let's start a dialogue. Tell me about your childhood. You know? And I want to, like, know what they like. Sometimes I'll even, like, I'm like, okay, let's see what their Instagram, like, get a personality, even though it's just, like, tell me what you want, and because you're going to get it in my style, but it's still, I don't know, it's just, I put way too much shit, like, time and energy into that stuff. And I don't charge for the back and forth. You know what I mean? Which there is time and communication when you're like, and some people are just so fucking needy. You know what I mean? Like if I'm commissioning a custom from somebody, I'm like, great, this is what I want. Just send it when it's done. And sometimes it's over a year, but when it's done, it's great. There are no custom emergencies. But some people don't think that way. Anyway, so I was just like, this has got to change. Like I can't, like, this is not why I went into business. I didn't go into business to be like, I mean, the first year, I think like before taxes, I was like, and this was not a full year. It was like from probably May till, January 1, like $13,000.
Right.
And I was like, I'm gonna fucking starve to death. Like I had savings. I was prepared to do this. I was like, okay, there's going to be some lean times.
Right.
But anyway, so basically, kind of towards the end of like year 2, I was like, all right, I'm going to start making things because I think I have an eye for this stuff. This is what I want to do. So I was like, just started making things and then got my website up and running. That was big to where people could just go and buy and they don't have to like talk to you. And it doesn't have to be an interaction and like a PayPal invoice, all this shit. And honestly, it was kind of like, that's how it started. It just took off. It was really great.
Awesome.
I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah. Was that originally... Did you just want to stay with custom work or no? Okay. No. So
honestly, and I like doing custom because it kind of scratches that creative itch where I can kind of have a lot of fun with it. Like, I mean, you can do some really incredible stuff with leather. So no, I like doing occasional custom. But I mean, it's just like, I'm not in any rush to like,
take a lot of custom orders.
But I really like kind of creating things like, for myself or you know what I mean? And being like, I think other people are going to like this and then just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So when did, so get it going kind of year 3, really. You guys are still in Oklahoma City. Obviously I've been to Oklahoma City, so I know exactly, like you fly in there and you're just like, you're looking around, you're like, this is flat.
It's so flat.
If you're from around the mountains, you're just like, what in the world? Like, I mean, it's just, and then the heat, but, so what was kind of the final straw of like, okay, we're going back?
Well, I mean, we had been trying to come back, honestly. And I think timing is everything. And it may sound a little cliche, but you're like, the universe, things work out how they're supposed to. And I was trying to force this. I mean, at times I was just like, because I used to say dumb shit like, it's not where you are, it's who you're with. And you're like, that was when I first met Zach. And then I was like, okay, you're great, but this place fucking sucks. We got to go. And I'm so lucky because he's from Houston originally. Like seriously, I don't even know like what I did in this lifetime to deserve somebody who's just so truly like a good person and down to do whatever the fuck I want to do. Like doesn't fight me on it. I was like, I want to move to Wyoming. He's like, okay. Like he loves it up here. I would venture to say he did better like transitioning back up here. Like I kind of had a rougher like, fuck, there's nothing to do here. And there is stuff to do, but you're like,
that culture shock.
There's something to be desired with the food scene a little bit, especially leaving like Oklahoma City. Cause I have to say you can drink and eat your way through that town, like, and be pretty fucking happy. It has an awesome like food and bar scene. But yeah, I was just like, I I can't be here anymore. Like especially after I came back from like that big, like 7,000 mile like road trip. Zach was like, are you coming home? I have your dog, And I was like, shut up, maybe. But I mean, when I came back, I was like, I can't do it. I can't be here anymore. And that was only after being there for like 3 years. So we still had another like 3 years to go. But I think the fact that I was kind of forced to stay there like worked out to my advantage because I am kind of typecast into the Western industry just by default because it's leather. That's just like inherently Western. But I am kind of like the black sheep of the Western world. They accept me well, but they're definitely like, this is a freak show. But it worked well because like you have Texas right there. It was 3 hours from like Dallas, Fort Worth, all these like chopper shows. Like I was going to motorcycle rally. It was so fun. And just like being able to kind of be a presence, it really helped.
Yeah.
Kind of like further things.
Yep. Keep building the
brand. Get you out there.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like up here. It's just been different. Like 2020 was obviously a dumpster fire and there wasn't even if I wanted to go places, it's like, there's nothing to do. So it's definitely different up here, but that was like pretty pivotal in kind of anchoring.
Yeah.
But Zach is oil and gas. He is a production engineer. And I mean, we were honestly, I was lucky to quit Chesapeake because if you're not familiar with like that whole scene, like,
I
wanted to be laid off. Not gonna lie. I was like, you're like, is this bad if I just like go and be like, you can lay me off instead of like, I just felt bad that like I was the asshole, like this single, like no strings attached, like don't have a family to take care of and never got laid off. Where these people who like wanted to be in Oklahoma, were like getting shit canned. Like, fuck, you're like survivor guilt.
Yep. Right.
And same with him. Like he was really lucky, he was able to be like, all right. We saved up because seriously, like we could not find, he would get interviews, but it was not a hiring industry. It's still not just because, oil and gas prices were in the shitter. And also like all the jobs are in all the ugliest places.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, you can make certain concessions, and you're kind of like, the longer it goes, the more opportunities kind of like come and go. Like you become okay with living in Gillette, maybe.
Potentially.
I was like, oh, Campbell County cocksuckers. Like, oh.
Or Natrona, go down to Casper.
I know. Oh, you're like, and you're kind of like in your head, you're like trying to convince yourself it's not that bad. But once you've been spoiled by like a place like Sheridan, you're like, it's not windy. It's essentially kind of a banana belt when it comes to winter. Like it's mild and like it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But we were kind of considering a lot of different places. And then we just were like, all right, screw it. Like it is time. We're done being here. Like the house sold immediately. And we're just like, all right, we're going to go. We knew there was one job here in Sheridan because we'd met the guy who left the job. He moved to Oklahoma City. And so we're like, oh my God, this is fate. And like Zach was like sending his, like he was, to his credit, he was very persistent to the point where I was like, Zach, you're probably honestly annoying them. Like just stop. Yep. Like they know, they got your resume. They don't want you. I'm the asshole. But he kept at it. And it was surprisingly like, we came here and it was about 6 months of like fun employment. And God, I mean, he is not like a prideful person. And he was like, he tried out for the fire department. Like he was actually like number 4, like just outside the
cutoff. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, he was just like, just kind of open to doing a lot of things that were outside of his like chosen profession. He worked at Home Depot for a week and a half. I made him quit because I was like, they weren't going to let him come to Vegas. I was doing a pop-up for the NFR and they weren't going to let him come. And I was like, tell them to shove it. I was like, you're not going back there. And then, I mean, again, timing is everything. And because he had an interview with these guys, because through CrossFit, he met people that worked there. I mean, it's honestly, I cannot believe how well this worked out. But anyway, he got the one job. Finally, we were coming back from Vegas and they called him and it was basically like, when can you start? And I was like, bitch, we're going to Peru over because I was like, do not fuck me on this. I was like, do not. And I was like, fine. Little did I know I should have gone to fucking Peru because I'll probably never travel internationally again.
Yeah, right.
But, at the time I was like, okay. And now I'm just like lording Peru over his head for the rest of his life.
That was you.
Yeah, that was
you. You and your job.
Yeah, your precious job, precious income. No, so it's been awesome. He loves it. Like his coworker, it's working out so well for him.
Yeah.
So, and I work alone, so I love my coworkers.
So was that 2019, 2020 then?
Yeah, that was 2019.
Okay,
2020.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then you guys are probably like, yeah, thank God we moved up here to Sheridan. And then because, a thing called COVID-19 happened.
Dude, everything. I mean, we have looked at each other multiple times. It's been like, thank God we got out of the city.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's maybe a little doomsday perspective, but I don't want to be in that. If shit hits the fan, I do not want to be in a metropolitan area, period.
Yep.
I want to be around my dad and his girlfriend who's got fucking Box Canyon up in Barnum, Wyoming. We can shoot our way out of.
Yep. And horses. And
yeah, exactly. I was like, they'll never find us.
Well, and just from an oil and gas perspective, I mean, like you said, getting out at the right time and him moving up here and having a job, like, I mean, that's because, like you were saying, Oklahoma City and those Texas, they all got laid off in 2022.
Mass layoffs.
Yeah. So
yep.
That's awesome. So what's, obviously, I don't want to hit on COVID a lot, but
yeah, we're all sick of that shit.
Yeah,
We're next.
What's next for the Saddle Tramp brand? What's, this will be, honestly, probably the second full year actually being based out of here. Mm-hmm. What's business been like? What's the plan for your brand? And especially like, with rodeo coming, the summer here is going to be crazy. Mm-hmm. Well, summer's really everywhere. Yeah. Going to be crazy. So what's the plan for you guys?
This is like such a weird, it's not like an impasse for me, but I think a lot of my, I would say contemporaries, and not necessarily in leather, but, like silversmithing, boutiques, other kind of like merchandise stuff. They're like expansion, like hire employees, like bigger, more. And I don't want that. I kind of like it to be, it's not fucking Amazon. Maybe you're going to wait 2 days for your earrings. Maybe you're going to wait 4 weeks. I'm just like, it's one person. It's me. It's handmade. Like I like that. And it's also quality control because I kind of dabbled in the employee arena and you would be surprised at some of the skills that people do not possess. I remember I was like so excited. I was like, yes, I found somebody. They're going to work a little bit part-time. He's like, what if they can't cut a straight line, Breann? And I was like, can't cut a straight line.
What?
I was like, just kind of like, it's okay. We can teach her how to cut a straight line. It is just like, so I don't know. I really don't know. I never know because I never even saw, I don't like I said, I don't like to kind of be like, well, here's the goal.
Yep. Here's our 3-year plan.
Yeah. Like I've had some years, like when things took off, it took off and it was wild and it's really stressful. And so I think just kind of finding that balance, and I kind of forgot. I mean, obviously we've got some actually really big fucking changes on the horizon. So this next year could be really interesting. I'm hoping to like be able to work fully up until I just don't know.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know because I'm just like, okay, thinking about work, but also now it's like, well, we're expanding, I guess, the family.
Yep.
Company.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I was like, oh shit, I'm pregnant.
There's a let's go from Tyler there, but yeah.
A little saddle tramp.
There we go.
Yep.
This won't be coming out till the end of May, so we can announce that. But we have it's Cinco de Mayo, so we had Coronas in here because we were gonna celebrate, and Breann's like, no.
Yeah, I was like, I would love to do this. However, yeah, under normal circumstances, I would be into all this stuff.
That leads me to a good question because back into Wyoming, you're from here. And when we introed you, it's definitely, we do want to ask this question in regards to, what makes Wyoming so fun to run a business here. And then especially to run a business as a woman, because I think, Zach and I were obviously guys. Mm-hmm. So, what are some of the advantages of that here in Wyoming? Because I think that's something that, business women don't talk about, I think, a lot here, because there's a lot of great businesses and then businesses led by women in Wyoming.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about Wyoming. And I think I didn't necessarily recognize this until you leave for the first time and you're like so proud of like where you came from. Whereas in high school, you're like, Wyoming, can't wait to get out of this shithole. And now you're like, give me back. So it is. It's just like a weird kind of pride. And it's like, what? We only have like 500,000 residents here. So we're also kind of like unicorns. We're a rare breed, Obviously the taxes are nice. That's a beneficial, like, for small business. I don't know. Because I think I don't know. It could be something as like, I don't want this to sound like, petty or trite, but it's like, it's easy to stand out from the crowd, I guess. Whereas in a lot of other places, it's so hard to like, and not that is the most important, but it is important when you are like a unique thing that draws attention. It's a lot of white noise. Like if I were to try to do this in Austin where I thought I was going to be doing it, like I would be just another face in the crowd. I don't know. That's not a good answer. I should have been fucking prepared for this one.
Well,
like,
that's
really?
okay. Well, and like I think one thing that we've heard from some other business people, business owners is that you're right on in regards to, you can kind of be that voice. But I think also here in Wyoming, there's a lot of, and maybe we can narrow it down to Sheridan. There are some communities that would definitely just like full on kick you out. Like that's not, we don't welcome that here, but we're here in Sheridan, it's like, heck yeah. Like,
it's definitely like, I would say Sheridan is a more open, progressive community, which I mean, all communities have kind of like, there are a little more like, nationalistic where you're like, you're not from around here.
Yep.
You're like, nope. But Sheridan, I love that there is kind of a healthy mix. Like that's the best part about being here is that it's also much, much better for the work-life balance. Like you can get outside, like go, like we live right near like Soldier Ridge. Was that little trail?
Yep.
I mean, there's all kinds of that stuff around here. No, I did not just lose my train of thought. I can do this. But yeah, so I mean, it's just like the perks of being here. Small business kind of standing out from here. Like, oh, shit, I totally lost my train. Like, damn it.
Work-life balance.
Yeah. And it's good. People are accepting. And it's honestly, I really like the Sheridan community in particular because you get like summers are super fun because you get kind of like this influx of the polo community and you get all those like South Americans that are super fun to talk to. I just love it. It kind of mixes things up. And honestly, for whatever reason, Sheridan is kind of like kind of a magnet for like some really interesting people. I mean, I don't want to be like really loaded people, but it does kind of bring in some really interesting characters and people because they can just live a quiet existence, without being heckled.
And Wyoming really, I think as a state does, I mean, but we're here. So, I mean, and Zach and I are both, we're all from this area. So, I mean, we're going to talk about it, but
it's like you could choose to live in Jackson.
That's what I was going to get at. Yes.
Yeah. Or you could choose to live in Sheridan.
Yeah. Well, people are kind of looking for like, because Bozeman has been completely ruined. I have strong opinions about places that everybody thinks are great and they suck now. I mean, Bozeman's great to like visit and stuff, but it's so like, I mean, it's LA. And that's what's happened to Jackson Hole. Like, honestly, whatever Governor Newsom is doing, that's what Teton County is doing.
Yep.
You're like, just take it. All right. But, and like Boulder, like all these people are looking for like the next best, like diamond in the rough, like outdoor community. And I think our ski hill is just far enough away to where people are like, I just wish it wasn't like an hour and some change drive. Like maybe let's find somewhere that's a little more accessible. And you're like, yes, good. Keep moving.
Yeah. On to the next one.
Yeah. So it's not being, we are getting a healthy influx of people from outside, but it's also, it's just, it's manageable. I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
It's enough to maybe get a few more ethnic restaurants, some good food diversity in here.
Yes, absolutely.
I was like that Thai food restaurant. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Finally.
we are both foodies. So and I would agree to that. But we need to, any more of those restaurants we can get for sure.
Yeah. Like ramen.
I just had another, I do kind of want to get into like, the conspiracy stuff we were talking about before.
I do have most of it recorded.
Okay.
So,
well, one thing we didn't talk about, and actually I do want to ask you this actually, and I know this is a very loaded question.
Yes. My favorite.
But so
great, let her rip.
because I know you've got a strong stance on the vaccines, but now you're pregnant.
Yep.
And I think which one's the
robot one?
Is it the Moderna one that they're saying if you're pregnant, don't get, or I mean, they're probably, I don't know.
I would say very simplistic understanding is that the Moderna and the Pfizer are this mRNA. They're similar. And initially I was kind of like, okay, if I I don't even like talking like this, like forced, you know what I mean? But it's also kind of one of those things where it's like, how long can I hold out on like travel? Because I don't think the government's going to mandate it. It's going to be your big corporations.
Yep. The airlines. Yep.
They're going to be the ones to enforce this shit. And people are going to be like, well, I don't know. It's their own business. And you're like, whatever. So it's more of like, how long can I abstain from this? Like, am I really going to be like this person? Because I honestly said this to my brother this time last year. I was like, Kaylin, I think, and I didn't know. I just had a weird feeling. I was like, I think travel as we know it is done. I don't know that I'll ever travel again.
Yep.
And I weirdly kind of like, held like a funeral for my for
international travels. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. I'm like, well, I'm glad I did a hell of a lot of it, at a time when I could. Because I'm like, well, we're driving. If I'm going somewhere, I'm fucking driving.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't know how long. I just don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I think so. Initially, I was like, oh, the J&J, because I'm like, it's just like regular vaccine. But I also don't even think that. I think there's just some things going on with these that have not been done before, not been implemented. There have not. For me to feel comfortable taking this, I want to give it some more time.
Yep.
And so, yeah, dude, I see, because I follow a couple, I might follow a couple Instagram accounts that kind of make fun of some of these people. But
just a few.
Just a few, whatever. I don't understand. I mean, there's just too many accounts of women getting vaccinated and miscarrying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, too many to be comfortable. And now kind of also a concern, which, again, this is just me and things that I pay attention to. This is nobody else's opinion but mine.
Yeah. Yes.
But there are some rumblings, too many rumblings for me to feel comfortable of whatever is happening that these people, and I don't know, it's specifically like which vaccine is more prone to this, but there is something going on that unvaccinated people are being affected from just being in proximity, like not even skin to skin contact, but just like some kind of like air transmission, like pheromones, like I don't know how else to describe this, but they're secreting something.
Yeah.
And it's fucking with women's menses. And it's all kind of like personal testimonies from women, but it's thousands of women talking about this. Mm-hmm. And when you're in those numbers, and it's these women have nothing to gain. They're not trying to like take down fuck the man. It's not like that. They're just sounding the alarm, canary in the coal mine, like something's weird here.
Yep.
So yeah, but I see women like getting the vaccine when they're pregnant, and I was like, why would you subject yourself? Like, you can't just wait, like subject yourself to being like a lab rat essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even mean that as mean. It's just what it is. This is an experiment. You are the trial study. That's all there is. This is emergency use authorization. That does not mean it has been approved.
Yep. Yeah. I'm fully vaccinated, and I had the paperwork, and we recorded one, and I was reading it to Zach because I'm like, wait a second. Yeah. Like, I thought this was, they're like, nope, this is emergency use. This is not approved. I'm like, so why are we getting, I'm like, I'm confused. So why are we getting this vaccine then? So, but,
some people just feel safer with it. And I think that's fine.
And that's fair.
Yeah. I just don't want somebody telling me I have to do that. And I'm not even, I've had all kinds of fucking vaccinations.
Yep.
I was like, what's up with this one?
Yeah.
Why are you telling me this one's so fucking important? I had it, or and Zach thinks we had it. And I'm like, well, I refuse to get tested because I'm not padding anyone's numbers here.
Yep.
But I was like, if I had it, fine. I got over it. You know what I mean? And whatever.
I second that. My wife had it.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly.
Some people had it really bad. I know a few people that got very sick, but they recovered.
Yeah.
Anyway, how was your wife?
She was fine. It was a 2-day cold, but the thing is we have her little brother, and he got sick early in 2020. And I mean, like,
really sick.
4 days, and they weren't testing or anything yet, and we're kind of like, I wonder if he had it then. And then people
are thinking, they're like, I know people that are like, I swear to God, I had this in like October of 2019.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, in regards to travel, that's the same. That's one of we're going to go to Greece this summer because we were supposed to go for our honeymoon last year.
Yeah. I was supposed to go to Italy.
Yep. And so I'm with you. It's kind of like, how long, we're kind of like, nope, my wife was kind of like, no, you're good. And I'm healthy, and I'm like, I have no concerns, but
absolutely.
She's kind of like, you're getting it, so we can go to Greece. I'm
Absolutely.
like, okay, fair.
And I, you know, even I'm like my own son. I'm like, is this a dumb hill to die on? I'm just kind of like going with what I feel is right.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm just
time's in your favor though, for sure, to let it play out.
Yep.
I do want to, last thing I want to get to, because I know we've probably hit an hour here, Zach, is one conspiracy we have not talked about is aliens.
That's
UFOs.
not a fucking conspiracy.
What was that?
I was like, okay.
Stop.
Yeah.
They exist.
Somebody, 100%. I like on my Instagram, because I do sometimes, I don't like to do a lot of like, ask me anything. It's like, no.
You're going to get a lot.
Because that's like free reign for somebody to be a dick. But I was kind of like, I was like, what's your wildest conspiracy that you kind of maybe think that you're like, that's crazy, but, and people were saying shit like aliens are real. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? Are you still seriously like, well, what do you think?
No, I think they exist.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But my big thing is, I was like, we will never know if we've made contact or not. Like that's,
we have,
you know,
and to what extent? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And how far are they here right now among us? Because there are some wild stories out there.
Yep.
And I wish I would have, I mean, it's over the years, like different podcasts. I want to say it was last podcast on the left, name dropping.
Yes.
And it was like one of their creepypasta episodes.
Okay. Right.
And they get people calling, and you're like, you know, there's no way to verify this person's credentials and their background, but on, you know, just kind of like, I don't know why, maybe they are calling in just to fuck with everybody, but you get ex-military people calling in about what they've experienced and seen. And it's pretty wild shit. Like, as in, like, they're here and they're operating. There's also like all these, you know, underground bases, like this is like military operation where, what the hell was it called? It was some like Operation like Morning Star, where they were doing like astral projection. They would have like people with like capabilities, psychic capabilities, astral projection. I think that's what it is, where they can see things. And like, it's gone down to the point, like, that's a conspiracy to go, that was, I think, like on one of those crazy like Travel Channel things,
right?
Where it's like, oh, this guy, like back in the 70s, he was like some ex-police officer from LA. I really wish I knew his name and like more to do this justice, but he was brought on by the government for an astral projection. Like, what can he see? Like telepathically, what can he see?
Right.
And he was like really good, really accurate. Like he could see like Soviet base shit where the US had like blueprint diagrams of this stuff. And he starts like giving like they would give him, I think, like a latitude, longitude coordinate. And he was like drilling down into like these, he didn't know necessarily what these things were, but he was describing shapes that he saw, wild shit like that. And anyway, he described a base up in Alaska outside of like Fairbanks, up in like some mountain range in buttfuck nowhere.
Right.
And it is like underground base, and where it's like, I think they call them the Greys, where it's like alien humans working together. There's hybrids. I think shit like that, you just never know.
Yeah, they're gonna keep it a secret.
Oh,
it's
absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
Like Stranger Things, you know. It's like, yeah, they're gonna.
I do think though, like a lot of the movies, you know, it's predictive programming. Especially now, like, you know, you're like, wait a minute, that movie with Michael Douglas, they talked about a virus. You know, you're just back in 1997. You're like, what did they know? And like The Simpsons, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's just too frequent. And you're like, you know, it's kind of like out in front of your face, like Men in Black. I honestly think that is a possibility.
Yep.
I know I sound like total crazy town, but whatever. And there's just too many other accounts of like Antarctica. People were like, I saw a fucking spaceship go under the ocean. Like the base under Antarctica. I don't know.
Yeah. No, what was I?
And then you have like the British royal family, which are reptilians. So.
Yeah. Oh, Elon Musk. You know, people always joke like, oh, he's an alien because he's trying to get back to Mars.
One. Yeah.
And you're like, well, he's come up with some like super logical ideas of problems that are like, whoa, man, he's, you know, so it's like, maybe he's an alien.
I don't know. You don't know. You don't know.
Yep.
So shapeshifters, man.
Or we're in the Matrix.
Honestly, the things I fucking question, like, you know, somebody asked me, like, what do you know about the Mandela effect? And I was like, I mean, I find it all just fascinating.
Yep.
Like Walmart, I'll never set foot in another Walmart again. I've listened to like theories of the third kind. They just go into like the FEMA camps and the Walmart shit. And I'm like, Yeah, not, nope.
Done.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Do you have any other questions, Zach? Like maybe Wyoming questions? She did a good job. I mean, yeah.
We covered a lot.
Cool.
Sorry, I kind of like bungled. I'm like, why do you love working in Wyoming? I'm like,
I don't know.
Mountains.
That's okay. No, that's the whole, that's what I was going to tell you. You were mentioning on your Instagram story, like what our theme is. In one thing you hit on was open conversations. Like that's what we're all about is like, I want, and in regards to like, that's your opinion. Like that's what we want. Like, we're not here to, get into a heated argument about like, nope, you're wrong.
I mean, we can.
Yeah. And we're definitely open to that, but we want people to feel like, no, we want to hear everyone's side. So anyways, that was something I forgot to mention. But for people that don't follow you already, where can they find your stuff? Where can they go to your website and buy anything that you have and kind of stay on track with your stuff? Yes. Because you always go with the flow.
Yeah. Well, I'm honestly only really on Instagram, Saddle Tramp brand. And then my website is www.saddletrampbrand.com. That's all the shit's there. But that's really it. I don't have much of that's kind of like I try to keep it narrowed to that just because there's only so many hours in the day that I want to blow on social media. Yeah. But I do spend that's where it is.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming by. And I'm awesome. super pumped we can do kind of the baby announcement in a couple of weeks. So that's awesome.
I was like, that wasn't as smooth as I want, but I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, what is the next year going to look like? Shit. I forgot.
little baby Saddle Tramp. So, but Breann, thanks for coming by. Saddle Tramp, thanks for coming by, and
thanks for having me.
We'll let you know when this comes out, and
so I can get out ahead of this one. Like, make sure my family knows before I hear it on a podcast.
Right. But thanks for sticking with us, and we'll catch everyone next time.
Toodaloo.